In the previous video, the first 100,000 is a must. Why so? Because it's important for financial health. You need money to do renovation, to get married, to pay for baby if you're going to start a family. And it also helps you in your personal confidence. You prove to yourself that you can save up money, that you can take care of yourself, that you are a real adult ready. So today with our guest, Sumin, to share our thoughts also on, Sumin, what's your first impression of this 100,000 and what do you use your first 100,000 for?
It brings me back a long time ago. And I think when I was thinking about this topic, the first thing that came to mind is like, I gotta be honest, in a sense that I think when I was still young in my 20s, I never had such a hard target because I think the way that I kind of started getting interested in money was a little bit more like messy. And at that time, it was like, oh, I needed to make enough money to have enough to not say invest, to trade. So at that time, my mindset is like, oh, okay lah. As a Malaysian, I have to earn a certain amount of money, save enough money so I can convert to US dollar, so I can trade the US markets.
So the definition is US dollar. As in, you don't talk ringgit, like 100,000 ringgit.
Yeah, it's very funny. My kind of venture into the trading space was with options and specifically US options lah. So I kind of in my head at the time, I needed at least like maybe 5,000 US dollars. I can't remember exactly, but it was around that amount of money so that I could begin my trading kind of career at that point.
As in now, brokerages can let you start with $100. Last time there was a min size.
Yeah, there was I think the min size wasn't too bad also, about 1,000, 2,000, something not ridiculous, but obviously for a young early 20s guy, somewhere in Malaysia ringgit, you do the math, right? That time was like, I think times 3 around there. Then I was like, oh, okay, I got to save up quite a lot of ringgit to get to that amount.
In that case, anyone who hasn't checked the exchange rates recently, right? Ringgit to US dollar, I think it's 4.6 already. Ringgit to Sing is 3.45. I was at the money changer yesterday and I thought 3.35 was good. I think I whipped out Google and I realized it's 3.45.
Yeah.
Because depreciation, it's like a joke that has been running for a very long time already.
Yeah, it's unfortunate I'm happy that I'm now in Singapore, but at the same time, I am feeling a bit sad for friends and family, of course, that are going through like harder times because of the depreciation. Obviously, any imports of things are going to go up. Cost of living is continuing to go up as well.
Then you haven't mentioned, what do you spend your 100K on also? Was it fully for trading or do you spend on like house or something like that?
No, so that's why I think, being honest, it was messy because it was mostly trading. At the time, I also wasn't even thinking about investing or buying my own property at a point in time. I was just like hungry to try and make more money with the method of trading. So that's why I think my conclusion here is that if you're watching this, you're quite young and you don't really have that kind of goal even, right? It's okay, If you do have it, wow, fantastic. You're already way ahead of me when I was in my 20s. But of course, having a goal to work towards is always useful. It gives you the target, right? And kind of like a path.
I think everybody reaches that woke status a bit differently. Some, who are very driven by their financial background, family hardship, they think about money like from 17, 18 years old. They want to make big bucks, trade here and there, flip things on carousel to make money. Whereas those who are a bit more comfortable, just don't think about it because it's given. So do you feel that, you have younger colleagues that are not too savvy about this path towards this 100,000 and they do need some, nudging to embark on this journey?
I think so because it's not so much that they are not savvy, but perhaps because we don't know what their upbringing was. Sometimes people in their circle of friends don't really talk about it. The concept of money and saving for a very specific goal might not even be there. Even if it is, right, it might be, again, just very specific. Like, for example, I'm saving for a BTO or I'm saving for my wedding. But if somebody doesn't have that as the trigger, maybe they don't have a partner yet or whatever, that entire conversation might not even be active in their head. So I do meet young colleagues that are in their 20s that don't really have that mindset yet. And maybe they're waiting for a trigger.
Or maybe, our good suggestions can nudge them in the right journey. So if they reach the right trigger, they don't need to panic. They've already embarked on the journey already and they're well prepared.
Yeah.
So sometimes you meet someone, then you want to get married 1-2 years, you never know. And 1-2 years, exactly. You can't build 100,000 that quickly.
So that's why if for anyone listening out there, it doesn't hurt. You might not need to have as aggressive a goal as 100,000, but having a goal and using that as a starting point, it builds a bit of like a muscle, you know. So I think it's a good challenge to have for yourself.
Muscle is a good point. So today we'll break down this journey, this muscle building part, on how you can save up fast for your first 50,000. This is our thumbnail. This is our discussion point. Because the logic that I always see is if you can get to 2, then you must first get to 1. Then if you reach half, then you have the confidence that you can reach 1. And 1 in this case is $100,000. So if you reach the half milestone, you have all the belief that you are halfway there and you won't give up and you're on the right track already. So Sumi, what are key points as to how to get to $50,000 fast if someone were to pose that question to you?
The way I will start is, I think broadly there are 2 types of people that might be watching this. I think people who are really like, they're very focused. They're willing to cut all expenditure to the bone because they're so motivated by the goal. And then there's another very broad group of people that are, yes, I am motivated, I'm interested, but I'm not willing to sacrifice everything. So I'm trying to find a balance. And I think because we're all different people, we all come from different mindsets. Everything that we're about to share, I think we take it with a grain of salt. You can choose to be as drastic. You might think it's a little too hardcore, but at the same time, there are those of you who can use that. Hey, that's interesting. Maybe I'll tweak it to my own variation. So that's my starting point. The number one area for me in terms of like saving and saving consistently and saving big, right, actually is food. The reason why is that if you look at any kind of like expenditure survey from Singapore, you can see, I think it's true around the world, food expenditure makes up one of the largest proportions of a household expenditure. That's where I think I would start as an individual. In that one big cloud of food, then there are a few tactics we can talk about. The way I approach it is I tend to think in terms of like, what are the segments, right? And I think there are a few big ones that a person can start to think about. The first one would be something like makan with colleagues. Because if you start working, I think that's a norm. It becomes a norm. 5 days a week. Maybe nowadays you work from home, maybe not so much. But when you're with your colleagues, there's always a need to go out and eat. And if you love your colleagues, great. You're having a good time. If you hate your colleagues, then that's terrible because you're not having a good time. Someone got to pay money. So you want to, that's one big area that you want to pay attention
I think
to.
as long as there are few who are very enthused about restaurants and don't like to go to the coffee shop, then everybody, okay, let's adjourn to the restaurant itself, and the bill's gonna be $15 each.
Exactly. And 15 these days already, it's like, oh, that's quite okay already. And some more, the weather not so great. If it's a bit hotter, easy excuse, man. Let's go to a nice place and then you enjoy the aircon and you pay like 15, 20, how much it is. So the one like quick tactic that I would recommend over here is really choose maybe one lunch or 2 lunches a week. And you try and work your way around there. Maybe you can be the ringleader and say to your colleagues, hey, let's tapao in for this particular day every week and let's all maybe save a little bit more. You can be as adventurous as that. Or if you're willing to say no, I know sometimes it's very uncomfortable for human beings to say no. Just say like, oh, you know what, on Fridays, I'd rather stay in and I want to read a book. Make up an excuse. If you're too shy to say, I don't want to hang out with you, right? Make up an excuse. Say, I'm doing some self-study for an exam. Whatever it is, it gives you a reason to tapao something and save a little bit of money for yourself.
I suddenly got a different idea. Why not call your boss to treat?
Yeah. if you can get away with that consistently, then that's a great.
Or find a boss that is always happy to treat. Wow. Then you pass the expense burden over.
Exactly. So that's the first big one, right? Because you spend too much time at work with colleagues and all that. The second one is, I think, self-treats. So this is where a lot of us use food as a reward. And it's very common, right? You say, suffer so hard already. I just finished a project. I work so long hours. I should therefore treat myself. And this treat can happen like whenever, like your own patterns and your own habits, right? Some people treat themselves every day because every day is a hard day. So on the way home, okay, I'm going to buy bubble tea. Or some people that like, end of a month, you tell yourself, okay, I deserve this really expensive meal. So self-treat is another big area that you might not realize how much disappears because of that. If upon reflection, you just sit back one day and you ask yourself, hey, what did I self-treat in the past month? You might not realize it, but yeah, actually you might have found that, for example, the bubble tea, right? That's the way you soothe your soul because you were so stressed out. And if you can suddenly choose to reprogram yourself, right, it's easier said than done, but you choose different things to soothe yourself, it might be a way to save a bit more money. So that's the second one. And then the final one, I think, is dates. This is for the lucky of those of you out there who got partners. And yeah, I mean, spending time out with a loved one. I mean, as a married guy, that's one of the things that we also do. I mean, we all go out as a couple, we gotta spend money a bit more. And I think those are the things that can get very big depending on, again, yourself, your partner's interests, and how aligned are you guys to what is a good meal or a good date, right?
I think the pressure should not be like to one up each other all the time. Like, oh, the time she treated me to this, then I should do something to impress her even more. Then, you keep upping each other. Then very soon that escalates to something very extravagant.
No, absolutely. I think what's important to reflect on, at least from my view, is like the quality time and the conversation. I mean, of course, if you both are like hardcore foodies and you happen to really love going out to try new restaurants and that's the way you bond, that's fantastic. More power to you. So maybe you don't sacrifice this area, you sacrifice the colleague one, or you can sacrifice yourself treats. Right? If you're able to, you can choose to do more quality time activities rather than spending on like extravagant meals. I think quite common for couples to spend a lot on a nice dinner, and that's the way they treat themselves.
Speaking of here, I've actually a adjacent point to add. Me and my wife, we check out new restaurant places, and we actually use a app, Burper Beyond. I don't know if anyone listening in also are a fan of this app. And inside it, there are coupons for one-for-one dining. You buy a membership, I think $69, something like that. And then when you go to certain restaurants, there are coupons that you can use. And for myself, I can actually share, I saved more than $6,900 already because I redeem a lot. So you go to a full price is $50, then one-for-one becomes $25 kind of thing. You use Burper Beyond also.
Same, but my amount is such a small amount compared to yours. I only save like 1,000 plus only.
So that means I've been spending too much. Just like it's like one point. I spent 6,000 already. So you can flip it the other way. But it's definitely better than full price, in my opinion, at least. 100%. Then there's also Chope. There's so many different kinds of methods that you can get good value from your restaurant meals. Because we don't need to eat at coffee shop all the time. You can go for dates in some nice places. And as long as you find some special ways to save, then every bit helps. Then another second hack that I thought about is, I have a toddler and my wife cooks for him. So how we save as a family is we order less by cooking a bit more for him. So that porridge is always oversized. There's more vegetables inside. The porridge is bigger. And we all eat a bit from inside. So that's a way that we also save on our restaurant meals simply by ordering a bit less and cooking a bit more from home. Then the last point also that I think we should highlight is drinks, alcohol. I think that's a very big component, right, of food. I would guess that for anyone that's drinking alcohol for every meal, that bill easily inflates by, 30%. Do you have that feeling in terms of cutting back on alcohol and drinks?
I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm a non-drinker, so I drink zero alcohol. So I already saved by accident. Or not intentional one, but I can tell you that even as a habit, I don't normally order drinks. And it's simply because, actually, for a couple of reasons. One is obviously money. You do save a small amount each time, but it does add up over a long time. But the second is that each of these drinks, they tend to be very sugar heavy. So I'm actually a little bit healthy in the sense that I don't take I try not to take a lot of sugar products.
Because you're getting older, that's why.
And that's also true.
It's like when we are 25. Oh, no problem. Extra sweet taping. Then it becomes less sweet, becomes no sugar already.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Also, in the previous episode, I did feature also a nurse who has saved up $100,000 by the age of 26 simply by cooking at home and packing to work every day. Of course, this fits a certain profile. If you're happy to cook from home, you can do those meal prepping kind of a situation. You can actually save quite a lot of money. Just bring the food out to the restaurant or coffee shop to eat with your colleagues. These are some little methods. It takes certain habits to build, to save on that food bill. So as always, if you enjoy listening to some of our suggestions, smash the like button again, smash the subs, and do rate us on Spotify also, because I realized there's a 5-star thing that you can actually help us rate and help us score on that leaderboard. So, Sumit, have you seen numbers on food expenditure? Singapore statistics, right? What's your first thought on this diagram?
At first glance, one, it obviously proves that it's one of the largest expenditures per household. Food is the only thing that you can, I guess, the next highest thing that you could possibly control. And that is around like 20%. So what I've noticed from this diagram is that if you look at the years, so it's obviously from more than 15 years ago.
Yes.
And then it's updated until the last was 2017, 2018. So that means, right, if you take a 2023 cost, I wonder what the new numbers would be. It might even be higher. Who knows?
You mean with food inflation? Like the
With food
prata now
inflation.
costs more.
Exactly.
After pandemic, yeah, food inflation. So this could be 22, 23% easily there, because cost has jumped. Correct?
Exactly. And that's why, for me, as a tactic, that's one of the places to try and save consistently over time, if you can develop some good habits around it.
So if we were to guess median income for those are in 20s is 3,500, for example, that means one should not spend more than $800 on food. Correct? I mean, if we were to follow this average budget, so maybe it's a suggestion to go and recheck back on budgets. If you've been spending thousands on your food, then maybe your alcohol bill is expensive.
Exactly. And just for the sake of transparency, because I track my expenditures and just self-reporting as a young couple, as a young recently married couple, no kids, right? So for my monthly food expenditures, eating out, I don't go out that much, only with my wife and occasionally with friends. I don't usually spend more than 400 on the eating out portion. And then when it comes to groceries, I'm also like relatively frugal. I buy for the both of us. We end up like 2, 3, maybe sometimes 400. So even I'm earning a reasonable income right now. I think what I've managed to do is keep food expenditure at a fairly reasonable dollar amount. So as a percentage of my income and my household, it's actually very small. And it basically hasn't gone up at all since for a long time. Yeah.
That's good. These expectations have not inflated, right? You're not trying fancy dining and stuff that would inflate bills, and you get used to the comfort, the higher quality, food and stuff. I also see from the diagram, others. The biggest growth is others. Could that include travel? Travel is not accounted for, right?
It doesn't seem to be accounted. So I think that's possible. Yeah.
Correct. Like everybody is spending a bit more on holidays, and if there's some revenge traveling, it could be like 15% now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we are living in a fortunate place where, again, travel is easy. That actually is considered affordable travel. Like if you talk about like budget airlines and all that, flying out of Singapore, right? And a holiday for a few $100s is not difficult to find. So I do think that's where a lot of people begin to kind of like spend quite easily. And I think I read the statistics somewhere a while before that. They said the average Singaporean makes an overseas trip five times a year.
5? Wow.
Yeah.
We should do a poll over here. I think I'm guilty of 5. I thought average less. Because
so it's interesting.
JB.
So that's why I suspect the 5, right? Obviously that it kind of like JB is included as well. It's still overseas, but over Causeway. But it still counts as a short holiday. That's why it's a cheap holiday, You just hop across, you spend a couple $100 or maybe less. So yeah.
I always feel that if you spend a couple of hundred, you do it 5 times, it's way better than you do one Orlando trip in US or one Switzerland trip. That would be 5 digits.
So going back to that holiday thing, I think this is where, again, sharing with you a personal kind of approach. Again, it's not necessarily for everyone, but I tend to save more on the transportation and basically my flights and my accommodation whenever I travel. So I'm willing to forego the comforts of a like say a 5-star carrier. You give me 3-star, you give me a 4-star, I'm very happy. I have no issues. To me, it's a bus to get from one place to another. I don't really care. Of course, when you get there, I'm the kind of traveler where I don't spend a lot of time in the room. I'm literally there to sleep. And then the moment morning comes, I'm out of the door and I'm doing stuff. So my mentality is like, why am I paying so much money for accommodation? So that's my personal style. And I think I'm very happy that my wife tends to be quite aligned. So it works for me. It might not work for you or for those of you watching, but that's one way to save a lot, especially with accommodation.
Any other further points?
I guess you can call it related to transportation, like flights. It is commuting around. And this is something that I notice more the difference between myself, who is used to kind of like getting around with public transport, versus some younger colleagues who are very accustomed to taking Grab. And I guess, again, we are very lucky to be in today's world where everything is so convenient, right? So it's very easy to feel like, yeah, I'm just going to call a Grab to go from A to B. But I do feel that it is a large expenditure when it starts to add up. And I remember my friend before saying that, wow, she spends like, and this is just for social reasons, not for work reasons. She said, I spend like 200-300 a month on Grab.
200-300 is not the highest for sure. We've seen a viral
exactly.
case. Yeah, got some spend 600-800 because every destination is a Grab ride.
Exactly, and that blows my mind as a relatively conservative spender. And I will always like plan ahead. Like, I know if I'm going here, I'll make sure I budget enough time, so I'll take public transport. So it's difficult to relate to spending $800 on Grab a month.
Then maybe what I like that is just now we saw the diagram whereby accommodation or home is very often the biggest expense. So I think one of the most logical way, in Asia we stay with parents a lot. Whereas in the Western world, they move out of their house very early, 16, 18, they rent their place. I think without rental expense, that is easiest time to save money. If you're looking to build that 100,000 fast, I think don't move out and rent the place, stay with parents. Once you get that 100,000, you have that safety buffer already, then you look for more independence. I think that's something that I'd like to highlight also. Cheapest way, stay with parents, you share on electricity, food and everything, no need to pay rent costs. Why not do that and build up your base first? Once you have base, then you can seek other things. Then what about for shopping? Maybe any points to add on that?
Yeah, definitely on shopping. But first of all, it's like for me, maybe I'm not a very big shopper. So I don't have the best tips and tricks to be the best optimized shopper, because I have friends who are like hardcore. They know all the e-commerce tricks. They know what the credit card hacks are. I'm not so optimized. So I spend a lot more on basically like simple stuff like groceries and all that. And I think my most consistent habit is to, I wouldn't say consciously downgrading, but I am making choices that I just feel, I guess, practical, like house brands, for example. For those of you who are buying groceries more often than not, sometimes house brands, you'd be surprised. Some people like it, some people don't, but give it a shot. I'll give you an example there. Like if you're buying tuna, like I buy like a fair price can of tuna. I honestly can't tell the difference between that and a famous brand. So it really is, of course, a very personal preference thing. Obviously, for me, groceries do make up a relatively larger part of my household expenditure. Maybe for you, if you're still young, maybe you're not buying a lot of groceries, maybe this part is not so important.
Point on a lot of people buying things on e-commerce. I also think on the flip side, e-commerce, there are a lot of tricks that they do to get us to overspend, buy in bulk, and you buy a lot of unnecessary things. So I think that's a thing to watch out. If you save back on unnecessary things, snacks and excess purchases, these little bits would add up actually.
I think that impulse shopping has become easier and easier over time. And now, again, thanks to, products like buy now, pay later. We talked about that before a little bit. It becomes very easy for people to adopt these habits. I was like, oh yeah, I can afford it right now. Why don't I just do it?
Over consume, then just buy unnecessary things just to stack up to clock that, unlock that reward and purchase.
Yeah,
gift and stuff. So how should one start to save up more aggressively? Are there hacks that we should bring up or not?
This is where I think I've been through enough of life to acknowledge that it's never easy. I think I've been in terms of like a good place, but I've also been in a bad financial place before. And being forced to save is never pleasant. So if anybody is out there, you're watching this, you're feeling like you're forced to do it, we hear you, we feel you. And therefore, I have some suggestions on how to maybe ease our mindset a little bit. Some tactics there to hopefully make saving a little bit easier. The first one I wanted to share is that it's a bit of a mentality shift of a little bit can add up. Now I know we probably heard this before where somebody has told you like, hey, why don't again, whether you want to cut down on the latte or whatever, and you might be thinking to yourself, yeah, it's only $4. It's not that much money. No matter what it is, right? If you have that mindset that it's not that much money, I'm not sure if it's very helpful to have that all the time. If you just put that mindset away, these little things, right, that you tend to save do add up over time. But maybe it's not so much the amount, but it's actually the habit. So if you think about this as I'm trying to create a new lifestyle for myself to be a little bit more frugal so I can hit my goal. So it kind of removes the pressure that, it's actually $1 that I'm trying to save. It's you're actually trying to transition to something new, and then every little bit counts.
I think this adage would resonate with this point also, which is how you do anything is how you do everything, correct? It's like if you are overspending on something, then you tend to bring that practice to everything, and everything becomes inflated already. You don't look at budgets too much. You don't look at the menu cost too much, and everything starts to inflate.
Absolutely. I think that's it's habits. We are all our habits over time. The second one that I wanted to share with you. So earlier I mentioned that I was in a bad place before, and it was when back in 2007 when I tried to migrate, and I went to Australia, and at that point in time I was like 27, 28 years old, and I was only allocated 20 working hours a week. And because of that, earning minimum income, I think it was like $12 an hour. You do the math, I wasn't really making a lot of money at all. And I had to think about everything. Literally, I had to pay for my rent, I had to pay for my food, and what little help I have left, I'll pay for entertainment. So I was really pushed to the limits of what I could do. So it's obviously a lot of pressure. But what I tried to do with my mindset is like, hey, let's try and make this fun. So, it sounds fun to me, but it might not sound fun to you. But what I did was I literally started to calculate how much a scoop of peanut butter was, how much a slice of bread was, how much a glass of milk was. So it became a curious experiment. So the way I kind of decided to have fun with it was that break every little thing down and just like, it's like this, and it was fun for me. So it might work for you. So maybe these type of experiments, you change your mindset. You don't tell yourself, I'm here to suffer. You tell yourself, I'm here to try something new. Let's see how it goes. And then with the knowledge you gain, you can actually modify your approach because maybe it's too uncomfortable. And you can try to change things around because you already have the awareness.
Awareness is important. For any change to happen, I think the first step is just awareness. Very often someone continues on the habit because there's just no awareness, again, to make a change.
Absolutely. And I've got one final one to share. And it's something that I started a long time ago, and I still do it now. And I might have talked about it before as well. And I call it the fake budget. And then it basically, in a nutshell, even though I earn a certain amount of income here, I will tell myself, this is my budget. And the way I record my budget is actually through an app. So what I'm seeing in the app is already the fake ceiling. Everything that is above that, right? I don't need to worry about it. I treat it as it doesn't exist. So because I live by this fake budget, it's just easy to become an automatic saver.
The app, is it a banking app or
it's not a banking
budgeting app? Can share the name?
It's a budgeting app. Yeah, specifically it's called Money Manager. I've been using it for years. I literally have like years worth of data on it. And I think it's quite fun.
I haven't tried it. So it's a good name drop for anyone who's looking for an app to try.
I'm not affiliated. I've been using an app. I just find it very easy. The interface is easy. And the way I use it is every expenditure I have, no matter how small, it's usually smallest I go is $1, like 50 cents, I don't count. But I will even log $1 expenditure in this app. So anything at all, I will log, and then you can kind of put an income. So you will kind of like I said, I get certain amount, but I already input the income at a lower amount. So that becomes my ceiling. And then all my budget is tracked, including my monthly one, which I automatically programmed. So you got monthly liabilities, so it's automatically programmed as well. That keeps me like 100% like certain. I have 100% awareness of what's happening on a monthly basis. And I can go back in time and track and geek out on it whenever I want to.
I'll always suggest one of the easiest ways to move that money out, but I didn't realize, hey, you can actually set a ceiling and then budget from there as if that ceiling exists. You can move the monies out. The one which I was thinking about is you always do a dollar cost average. Pay comes in, move it out to the investment account quickly so that you don't see it. And then very soon you have a big enough stash. So if you move out $1,000 for 4 years, then that's how you get to 50,000. If you are able to squeeze out more savings, 2,000 a month, then you can reach 50,000, which is our topic for today, in 2 years. So as always, it's all your decision. You have a lot of control on expenses. To reach that 50,000 is just a timing thing. You save and you compound it over time, and that's how you reach 50,000. So Sumin, thank you for sharing your thoughts also on this point.
No problem at all. My pleasure, as always.
If you have your own suggestions, do leave in the comment sections. We can all help each other find new ways and new mindsets to improve on our own financial journey. Check out some of our previous discussions. This one over here touches on side hustles to make more money, because you want to get to 50,000, do side hustles that increases your income. Or this on how you can save up your bonuses, because you want to get to 50,000. If you're able to squirrel away all your bonuses, you are going to get there faster than someone who doesn't. Thank you for listening in, and we will see you in the next episode.